Have you ever wondered why some people succeed even when they're not the smartest, the strongest, or the most talented? Why some people quietly rise, while others, with all the potential in the world, stay stuck in the same place? Here's the truth: consistency is your superpower. Not motivation, not big moments, not dramatic life changes. It's the small, steady habits you practice when no one is watching. It's the discipline to keep going even when life feels heavy, when your mind is loud, when you're exhausted from carrying responsibilities no one else sees. If you've struggled with overthinking, disappointment, burnout, or feeling behind in life, this video is for you. Because the path forward isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. And today, we're going to rebuild that power inside you. There are moments in life when you sit with yourself and wonder why change feels so hard. You may feel stuck between who you want to become and the habits that keep pulling you back into old patterns. And often, the biggest reason is that you're waiting for motivation, waiting for energy, waiting for inspiration, waiting for that perfect spark that will finally push you forward. But that spark rarely comes. Motivation is emotional, unstable, and deeply tied to how your day is going. One unexpected setback, one stressful conversation, one wave of exhaustion, and suddenly the entire plan collapses. That's why so many people stay trapped in cycles of trying, stopping, restarting, and giving up. The real breakthrough happens when you understand that consistency is not about feeling ready, it's about choosing to show up even when you don't. When you take one small action, even on days you feel empty, you remind yourself that you're capable of movement. And movement, no matter how tiny, creates momentum. Start with 1 minute, one task, one step. When the pressure becomes small, the habit becomes possible. And when the habit becomes possible, transformation becomes inevitable. Sometimes the hardest person to trust is yourself. You've made promises before, to be better, to be stronger, to be disciplined, and somewhere along the way, life got heavy, distractions took over, and those promises faded. Each time that happened, it wasn't just the habit that broke, a little piece of your self-belief cracked along with it. And over time, those cracks added up, creating a quiet fear: what if I fail again? This fear is powerful because it convinces you to avoid trying altogether. You don't want to face another disappointment, especially one caused by your own actions. But this fear is built on a misconception, the belief that consistency means perfection. It doesn't. Real consistency includes setbacks, pauses, and imperfect days. It's not about never slipping, it's about how quickly you return. When you start with habits so small they're almost effortless, you rebuild your trust gently. Completing a simple, easy task sends a message to your mind: I can follow through. And when you repeat these tiny wins, you begin repairing the inner confidence that life once chipped away. The goal isn't to prove your strength in one dramatic leap, but to prove it quietly, steadily, day after day. Many people think success comes from dramatic shifts, the overnight transformation, the sudden burst of productivity, the powerful, new beginning. But the truth is far less glamorous and far more human. Real change comes from ordinary days, the ones that feel slow, quiet, and unremarkable. It's on those days that your discipline matters most. Because anyone can act strong when life is smooth. Anyone can follow a routine when they're inspired. But consistency shows its true value when you keep going despite boredom, fatigue, or a lack of visible progress. Those small, repetitive actions shape your identity. If you read one page today, you become someone who reads. If you stretch for 2 minutes, you become someone who prioritizes their health. If you clean one corner of your space, you become someone who takes responsibility. These shifts may look insignificant from the outside, but inside, they rewire your mind. Every small action is a vote cast for the person you want to become. And over time, those votes compound quietly, steadily, without applause or attention. The people who appear disciplined aren't gifted, they're simply committed to small decisions that accumulate into powerful change. There's a painful truth many people avoid: waiting for the perfect moment keeps you stuck in the same place for years. You tell yourself you'll start when things calm down, when you feel better, when life becomes easier. But life rarely hands you the perfect conditions. Challenges don't pause just because you need time to grow. And if you wait for the world to cooperate before you begin, you'll never move forward at all. This is where consistency becomes your anchor. You start in imperfect conditions. You start tired. You start uncertain. You start while carrying emotional weight, confusion, or doubt. And surprisingly, that's where your inner strength is built, not in comfort, but in resistance. When you act despite discomfort, you teach your mind resilience. You prove to yourself that storms may shake you, but they won't stop you. The first steps will always feel awkward or slow, but action creates clarity, and clarity brings momentum. Even when progress feels invisible, your effort is shaping something within you. The ability to endure, the capacity to focus, and the belief that you can handle life as it comes. Starting imperfectly is not a weakness. It's the doorway to strength. One of the most misunderstood parts of consistency is how deeply it affects your emotional health. People often assume discipline is a rigid, harsh force, something cold, demanding, or mentally exhausting. But consistency, when practiced correctly, actually brings emotional stability. When your days are unpredictable, your mind becomes unpredictable. When your habits are inconsistent, your confidence becomes inconsistent. And when everything depends on how you feel, life becomes draining because feelings shift constantly. But when you build even one solid daily habit, something simple, steady, reliable, it becomes an anchor. It gives your mind a sense of control in a world full of noise. Think about how grounding it feels to wake up and know there is at least one thing you'll definitely follow through on. Whether it's 2 minutes of breathing, 1 page of reading, a short walk, or a quick reflection, that small habit becomes a form of emotional safety. It reminds you that even when life feels chaotic, you have the power to create moments of order. And those moments accumulate into inner peace. You don't calm your life by fixing everything at once. You calm it by showing up for one habit that teaches your mind to trust your direction again. There comes a point where you realize that the person you become is shaped less by what you occasionally do and more by what you repeatedly do. This truth can feel heavy at first, especially if your past is full of inconsistency or abandoned goals. But the beauty of consistency is that it doesn't care about yesterday, it only responds to today's choices. When you repeat a healthy habit, even a small one, it begins rewiring your brain. Your mind starts to recognize patterns, and over time, those patterns become automatic. This is why people who appear highly disciplined don't rely on willpower every day, their habits carry them. Imagine how different your life feels when certain actions no longer require a battle with yourself. No overthinking, no negotiation, no emotional tug-of-war. You simply do the things that support your growth because they've become part of your identity. And that identity shift is the real transformation. You're no longer someone trying to build good habits, you become someone who lives them. Consistency gives you that gift, the freedom from fighting yourself. It's not about being perfect, it's about becoming aligned with the person you're meant to be. There will always be days when you feel tired, unmotivated, or mentally overwhelmed. Days when the weight of responsibilities, emotions, or stress makes even the simplest tasks feel heavy. And on those days, you may assume that doing nothing is safer, that resting from effort will protect your energy. But this is where many people misunderstand resilience. True resilience isn't about pushing yourself to extremes or ignoring your limits. It's about maintaining gentle movement even when you're not at your best. A small step is still a step. A modest action still reinforces your direction. When you stay consistent on hard days, even with minimal effort, you send a powerful message to your mind: I don't quit on myself. This message becomes a foundation of inner strength. Over time, your brain learns that you can handle difficulty without collapsing. You stop being afraid of low-energy days because you've proven to yourself that they don't break your progress. And the more you practice this, the stronger your emotional stability becomes. Small actions on hard days protect your momentum, preserve your habits, and keep your identity anchored in growth. You don't need to give your best every day, you just need to stay in motion. Success requires effort, but long-term success requires identity. You can force yourself to work hard for a week, or even a month, but that effort collapses if it isn't tied to who you believe you are. This is where consistency reshapes your entire life. Every time you complete a habit, you reinforce a specific identity. If you write each day, you're a writer. If you train each day, you're an athlete. If you reflect each day, you're someone who values inner peace. These small confirmations matter because your identity determines your behavior. People rarely act against the person they believe they are. Consistency helps you build an identity aligned with your goals, not your fears or limitations. And this identity gives you stability during difficult moments. When challenges arise, you don't fall apart because you're anchored in who you've become. You make choices that support your growth naturally, without forcing yourself. This is the secret behind people who seem disciplined. Their habits are not just tasks, they are expressions of who they are. And the moment your actions reflect your identity, discipline stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling like self-respect. Consistency is your superpower, the quiet strength that shapes your success, rebuilds your confidence, and brings peace within. If this message spoke to you, share your thoughts below. How are you rebuilding your habits today? You deserve growth. You deserve clarity. You deserve a life built on steady, meaningful progress. Let's grow, consistently, patiently, and with purpose.